All right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at webinar attendance rates. We're really trying to get to the bottom of what makes people click register, and more importantly, what makes them actually show up, ready to learn on the day of.
And I think that's a really important distinction to make.
Yeah, definitely. We dug into a ton of data for this
Yes,
one.
we did.
And I think one of the most interesting things we saw right off the bat was just the average attendance rate for webinars in general.
Yeah.
Kind of lower than you might expect.
It is. It is. Across the board, you're looking at a typical range of 30 to 50%.
Really? So only about half the people who register are actually showing up.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in those initial numbers, but, that average attendance rate is really just a starting point. The real story, I think, unfolds when we look at the why,
Okay, so what's the why?
Yeah.
Like, what's the secret sauce here?
Well, one of the things that we found really fascinating is that webinars in certain fields like finance or pharmaceuticals, they see a really high attendance rate. We're talking like 61%.
Oh, wow. So, like, everybody wants to be a millionaire doctor.
Well, I think it speaks to the power of relevance, right?
Okay.
And urgency. People are drawn to topics that directly impact their lives, their finances, their well-being.
Yeah, it's like you can lead a horse to water,
Exactly.
but you can't make them.
You can't make them drink.
Click the link.
That's right. You can have the most beautifully designed webinar invitation, but if it's not something your audience really wants, they're not going to click.
That's so true. And I have to say, some of this data had me kind of scratching my head. Like, did you know that webinars with fewer than 200 registrants tend to have better attendance rates?
Yeah,
Seems backwards.
right. You would think bigger is always better, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And this is where I think it gets really interesting. What we're seeing is the power of a really highly targeted audience.
Okay.
When you focus on quality over quantity, you're more likely to attract people who are genuinely invested in what you have to say.
So it's not just about casting a wide net.
No, it's about finding your people.
Finding your people, got it.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to, I think, another really crucial factor that influences attendance, and that's webinar length.
Okay. How long is too long?
Well, our research pointed to kind of a sweet spot of around 20 to 30 minutes.
Oh, wow. That's pretty short.
It is. And before you balk at trying to cram all of your brilliant ideas into such a short time frame, let's talk about why this works. Have you ever heard of the Zeigarnik effect?
I can't say I have, no.
So it's this psychological principle that suggests we tend to remember unfinished or interrupted tasks more vividly than completed ones.
Okay.
So applying this to webinars, a shorter, more concise presentation can actually create a sense of intrigue, leaving the audience wanting more.
So you're saying I should leave them hanging, like a cliffhanger on Netflix.
Exactly. You're piquing their curiosity and making them eager to learn more. And let's be honest, in today's world, nobody wants to sit through a marathon webinar.
Yeah. Nobody has the attention span for that anymore.
Exactly. Attention spans are precious. You want to respect your audience's time.
Yeah, once I feel a webinar dragging on, I'm like, all right, time to check my inbox.
Right. You're not alone. It's just the nature of how we consume information these days. So
Right.
when you keep your webinar succinct, focused, you're really doing your audience a favor. They're more likely to stay engaged, absorb those key takeaways, and walk away feeling like they got what they came for.
Totally. Okay, so let's talk about another big factor in attendance. Time of day. I used to think with everyone working remotely, juggling different time zones, maybe this wouldn't matter as much anymore. Boy, was I wrong.
You're telling me. Timing is everything. And it's not just about accommodating those different time zones. It's about tapping into those windows of opportunity where people are primed for learning,
So spill it. What are those magic hours?
Well, it varies depending on who you're trying to reach, obviously. But in general, mid-morning or mid-afternoon tend to work really well. People are usually settled into their workday by then. They've had their coffee or tea, and they're ready to absorb new information.
So not first thing in the morning when I'm still trying to find my computer charger.
Exactly. Or, late afternoon when everyone's already mentally checked out and thinking about what they're going to have for dinner.
This is all making me think about all those webinars I scheduled for like 8 a.m. Oops. Live and learn, I guess, right?
Exactly. And now you can take this knowledge and apply it.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The psychology of attention spans, the importance of knowing your audience, the power of timing. But I want to get into the nitty-gritty now. Like, what are some actionable steps people can take right now to boost their attendance? Because this is all fascinating, but I think I speak for our listeners when I say I need a game plan here.
Absolutely. That's where those actionable takeaways come in. And I think a really great place to start is something you alluded to earlier, and that's the registration process itself.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded registration form.
It's often the very first real interaction your audience has with your webinar, so it's crucial to make it a good one. And by good, I mean simple, straightforward, maybe even, dare I say, delightful.
Delightful registration. All right, now you've got my attention.
It's all about user experience. Think about the landing pages that really grab you and make you want to stick around. What do they have in common? They're visually appealing, they're easy to navigate, they load quickly. Same principles apply to your registration.
So ditch the clunky forms, huh?
Yeah.
The ones with like 50 required fields.
Get rid of them. Nobody wants to feel like they're filling out a job application just to attend a webinar.
So what does a good registration form actually look like then? Like, what are the must-haves?
At a minimum, you need their name, email address, maybe company name if that's relevant, but keep it concise, use clear language, and make sure that Register Now button is impossible to miss.
Easy peasy.
Exactly.
Speaking of making things easy, our research talked about this too, one-click registration. Sounds obvious, but I don't actually see it used that much.
And that's a shame because it can be a game changer. In today's world, every extra click, every extra form field is just another barrier to entry. One-click registration removes that friction and makes it insanely easy for people to say yes.
Okay, that's just smart. Sign me up.
Right. It's like the difference between ordering your favorite takeout with a single tap versus having to dig through a website and enter your credit card info every single time.
Okay, that analogy really works. But, ease and convenience aside, there's another thing that stood out to me, even though it seems counterintuitive. Work emails only for registration.
Ah, yes. That one tends to raise eyebrows, but it's a strategic move for sure.
Because on the surface, it seems limiting, right? You'd think you'd want to cast as wide a net as possible.
You would, but remember what we were saying earlier about a targeted audience.
It's like we're not just inviting everyone to a giant block party. We're handpicking guests for a curated dinner party with a specific theme.
Exactly. By focusing on professional email addresses, you're curating an audience that's more likely to be genuinely interested in your content from a business perspective.
And they feel valued, like they're part of something exclusive.
And because they signed up using their work email, they're also more likely to be engaged during the webinar. They're less likely to be distracted by personal emails or social media notifications.
Right, like they're in work mode, ready to focus. I like that.
It's all about setting the stage for a focused and productive experience. And that brings us to another crucial aspect of boosting attendance: promoting your webinar effectively.
Ah, yes, because even the most amazing webinar won't get very far if nobody knows about it.
Exactly. You need to get the word out there strategically. A well-crafted email marketing campaign can be your secret weapon.
So, no more mass emails to the masses.
Definitely not. Personalization is key here. Segment your email list, tailor your messaging, and highlight the specific benefits of attending for each group.
Okay, so again, quality over quantity, just like with registration.
Exactly. You want people to open your email and think, wow, this webinar was made for me.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about the psychology of attendance, the power of targeting and timing, making registration painless, and promoting your webinar effectively. What else can we do to make sure our webinar is a smash hit?
Sometimes it's the little things that make a big difference, like offering a bonus incentive for early registration.
Ooh, I like that. Like a sneak peek of the content or a special download.
Exactly. It's a great way to create a sense of urgency and reward those who sign up early.
Like a little thank you for being an eager beaver.
Precisely. And speaking of rewards, don't underestimate the power of a well-timed reminder email.
Well, that's key. I know I need a reminder or two because my inbox is, well, kind of a black hole.
Exactly. A friendly reminder, a day or two before the webinar, can do wonders for reducing no-shows.
It shows that you value your audience's time and that you're excited to have them there.
Absolutely. It's all about building anticipation and making sure your webinar's on the top of their mind.
This has been so helpful. I feel like I have a toolkit now to boost my webinar attendance for sure.
I agree. And remember, it's not about just trying random tactics and hoping something sticks. It's about understanding your audience, crafting a valuable experience, and promoting it strategically.
Well said. And that is a wrap on this deep dive into the world of webinar attendance. We'll see you next time.